Hi there, it's Nicole for Lawn Fawn, and today's card share showcases a way to create a customized greeting on a card. There's a lot going on here, from the cute little colored letters and coffee cups to the customized sub greeting underneath, as well as the background. I'm going to start with the actual word coffee and then move on to the coffee cups, and then we'll work on the rest of the card. The large greeting is created with the Quinn's ABCs dies and stamp set. And these are a solid die, so you're going to want to die cut these first and then stamp them, just so that you get that precise line up with these letters. If you stamp them first, it's really hard to see since these are a solid die. I'm going to die cut all of the letters for the word coffee out of some smooth white cardstock. I'm using the Nina Solar White smooth cardstock. And then I'm going to be stamping all of my letters plus the coffee cups and mugs with the Simon Says stamp Intense Black ink. I am using this ink because it works great for Copic coloring. When you're using your alcohol ink markers, it is not going to bleed. Now, for whatever reason, the letter E die does not die cut all the way through. There is just a little error with my particular die. So I had to snip those E's out with my scissors just along the top there. There's just one tiny little area where the die, I'm sure I got some as part of the design team, maybe before it was in production and got caught or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and stamp all of my letters, just grabbing each of these, not worrying about being too terribly precise. Just want to make sure that whole black outline is shown on each letter. I did lay everything out on this grid paper background before I got started. It kind of helped me line everything up and make sure that everything is going to fit on a standard A2 sized card. So I'm going to have a landscape format card. It's going to be 5.5 inches wide by 4.25 inches tall. Next, I am taking the coffee mugs and coffee cup from the Lawn Fawn Love You a Latte stamp set. This is a great stamp set that came out a couple of years ago around holiday time. In fact, it's got some candy canes and holiday type greetings, but the coffee cups work for any time. That's what I love about this, kind of stretching your stamps, stretching your creativity, and really creating a customized card. Not only is the greeting going to be customized on this card, but we're customizing these stamps and using them for something other than what they were intended for. And I love that idea of being able to take stamps you maybe already have in your stash and stretching them and using them for something other than what they were intended. As I'm working on all of these little images here, I'm moving them around and rearranging them and making sure they're going to fit. A lot of times I will stamp, color, and then die cut. This was really kind of outside the norm for me, but I found that I needed to do that this time so that I could make sure it was all going to fit before I committed to coloring everything and then maybe realizing it wasn't going to fit or something like that. Once I have everything looking the way I want it to look, I've even laid out my Clark's ABCs there underneath. I'm going to start coloring in my images. The first was the letter C, and I showed the pink color of Copic markers I used there underneath. Now I'm on to the red mug, and the 3 colors I'm using there for the red are shown across the bottom of the screen, plus both colors that I'm going to use for the coffee in the coffee mug. I used 3 shades for each color family that I'm using here today. I do not always do that, but for this particular project, I am using 3 shades per item, and I think that really gives you a nice gradation of color from light to dark. There's those 2 brown colors to make the coffee in the coffee mug. I'm going to move on to orange next, and as you can probably notice, this is going to be rainbow colored. I'm a huge fan of doing rainbow colors. I think it's bright and fun, and I just really love how it looks. So I started with pink, moved to red, now I'm on to orange, and now yellow. Again, the colors are shown across the bottom of the screen. I start with my light at the top, my darkest at the bottom, and in between the light and the dark, I'm going to use my mid-tone or medium color. Next, for my first green color, I'm going to do more of a limey or lighter green. Again, 3 colors. Going to just do the cup portion on this one. It kind of looks like maybe a Starbucks cup or something like that. I want the top of the cup to be white, so I'm only coloring it in with some warm grays. Just a little bit to add some shading, and then I want the coffee cozy to look kind of like craft paper. So I'm using 3 shades of brown to achieve that color there. Started with my light color, which most of that's going to get colored over, and it's only going to be kind of a highlight there along the left side. Then I'm going to go in with my mid-tone color and add even a little bit darker color and then blend all of that out. I can feather it in as many times as I need to get it to look the way I want. And then I did go in with a little bit even darker gray to add some additional shading to the top of the cup and blended it out with my lighter gray markers. Now I'm going to have dark green. I had so many images that for some of the colors I needed to have 2 kind of shades. So with the green I had lime, and then now I have actual green. For blue, I'm going to kind of do aqua, which is going to be a nice transition from the green to blue. And up at the top of the screen, you can see that I kind of got out of order. So I had to actually stamp a few new images, die cut them, and then color them in. And even along the right side of the screen on my grid paper, you might see that I have a little guide. After I messed up there, I decided I better write down exactly what I needed to do so I didn't get lost again. This coffee mug is going to be aqua. I love these shades together. I'll go in and fill in the actual coffee again with E57 and E59. And then for my blue letter E, I've got some B21, B24, and B26. This is going to be the actual blue. So it went from the lime green, green, aqua, and now a real blue color before I move on to purple. And with purple, I'm going to kind of have a light violet color and then a little bit darker purple. I actually went out of order here, and the coffee mug ended up being quite a bit darker than what the letter E was. And so I'm just going to switch those around. I purposely kind of put a couple letters together in a couple places because I didn't really want to put as many coffee mugs or coffee cups as letters. There's simply not enough room on the card. So kind of that random placement where there's just a coffee cup thrown in here and there is more the look I'm going for. And here's going to be that really light letter E, the more lavender kind of color, which is going to go in front of the darker purple coffee mug. And as I finish up the letter E, I realized I forgot to fill in the coffee, which really finishes off the design, so I go ahead and colored that in. I did stamp some faces on the coffee mugs because the Love You a Latte has some adorable faces. If you wanted to do other faces, there are other Lawn Fawn stamp sets with additional faces you could definitely use instead, which I think would be super fun. I also did a heart there on the one coffee mug. And then I did die cut that stitched line using the Lawn Fawn stitched borders die. And I've just die cut, or trimmed rather, a piece of white cardstock. It's about 2 1/4 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches long, or 2 1/4 inches tall rather by 5 1/2 inches long. Underneath that stitched line is where I'm going to stamp the Clark's ABCs using that black ink. This is giving me that custom greeting. So it's going to read coffee and then it's going to read "A hug in a cup." And I just think that's a really fun greeting. There's lots of t-shirts and stuff out there that you can get with that greeting. So you can find lots of great inspiration all over the place on Pinterest or whatever to create your own greetings using alphabet stamp sets. The little steam image from the Love You a Latte stamp set I stamped with black ink 3 times to come out of the 3 mugs. And then I'm going to die cut each of those with the coordinating die. Then I'm going to use the new stripy backdrop die. This is A2 sized. I'm going to die cut it from white cardstock and black cardstock. I'm going to be doing an inlay style here. So it's going to be mostly white, but those strips in between are all going to be black cardstock. So I'm going to die cut that black cardstock and just use the little inside pieces. You could definitely save everything you don't use, so save the white portions and save the black frame, and you could create the opposite effect for another card. Now on each of those white strips, I am going to take some of the Stitched Borders dies and lay those out. And in fact, to make this go fast, I used all 4 styles. So there's the dot, the little cross stitch, the stitched lines, and then like the little diagonal lines. I'm using them all, and I'm going to just repeat those all the way across so that each of those white strips has a little bit of a design. This is really going to make the background pop. Where there's so much going on with the greeting, where the large letters for the word coffee and the coffee cups all are really colorful and bright, I didn't want a really busy background, but yet I still wanted something that had some interest and texture. The white frame and the black inlay definitely adds that, but by adding these little stitched elements along each of those little white stripes there, or strips, it really adds even additional interest. So there's what that looks like. On a white note card, I'm going to completely cover it with some nice strong adhesive and then attach my frame first and then inlay all of those black stripes. This was really easy, and it was kind of made the adhesive mess. There wasn't any adhesive mess. So I just put the adhesive on my card, placed the frame down, and then filled it in. And there is my background, which looks incredible. I'm going to use my adhesive now on my strip where I've stamped a hug in a cup. I've got a couple of really thin cardstock strips that I'm going to just frame up this piece with. I think it really makes that whole strip pop. Go ahead and draw a little bit more or another line of glue along the top and place my other strip along the top. You can see that now that it really makes where all the action on the card's going to be stand out from the background. Then I'm going to simply take some glue dots and start attaching all of the elements. And they're going to go from side to side because it really fills in the entire thing. Before I press down too hard on any of these glue dots, because they are really hard to get up once you've pressed them down, they'll tear your paper, I am going to make sure I am tucking all of my letters and elements kind of in and over each other to really add that fun kind of whimsical look. I tried to make sure that no one element, whether it be a letter or a coffee cup, was behind 2 elements, if that makes sense. So it kind of goes over, under, if that I hope that isn't too confusing. I'll finish up there with my last little coffee cup, and you can see that great rainbow effect. I'll fill in with the little steam images. And then I'm going to go in with a black gel pen and finish off the eyes, mustache, and heart to finish off this great customized greeting card with alphabet stamps. Thanks for joining me today for a card showcasing a customized greeting using alphabet stamps and Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. The supplies I've used to create this card are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos showcasing Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.